Good morning. Good morning. It's Wednesday. It's 9 o'clock, or just a few ticks of the clock after. I trust you're having a good day today. Where I am, we've had extremely cold weather and it's warmed up a little, and now the snow is falling softly and gently. It's always pretty when it does that, except when you go outside and have to walk in it or drive in it. But that's the way it is here in the Pacific Northwest. Now, I forgot to do my singing exercises before, and my voice is a little bit croaky at the moment, but I'm sure it will settle out. I trust you've had a good week. I trust things have been going really well for you, and life is looking really good. Now, it's always like, what do I talk about? And when we're looking at our metaphysical world and how we can enhance our lives, and the thought keeps coming back to me about the power of the thank you and how we can integrate that within our daily lives. Um, in my book, Secrets for Living Happily, I have an exercise, I'm just going to do a little bit of a reading here. An exercise which I and many others have found helpful is the following. When you go to bed, raise your thoughts upward to the universal source energy and say a thank you for everything you enjoyed during the day. There has to be one thing you were happy about, and say thank you for that. There may have been many enjoyments, and so you say thank you for each one. Also, in the morning, when you wake up, you raise your thoughts to the universal source energy and say, good morning. I will have a good day. Let good things come to me. Let good things go from me. I give thanks. I give thanks. I give thanks. And then I just say, doing these two thank you exercises every day for 6 weeks will create a big change in your happiness level. Because this book is about living happily. This little blue book that I wrote. Now, when I talk about raising your thoughts upward and to the energy, I hadn't really come to terms with the love source energy at that point. And now, if I was to rewrite that, I'd probably raise your thoughts up to the love energy, because it is around us and we want to bring it down inside of us. And it's important that you're really aware of how you're thinking, because your vibration is what's going out. I know I had to take a little look at myself this last week because of just some things that weren't smooth. You know, most of my life has been fairly smooth, but when something comes in the door, it's usually a little bit bigger, and so that's when some of the things I've had to deal with. But that's life too. How do you handle your adversity? How do you handle things that don't go the way you want? How do you handle when relationships don't work or things are just rough? And I have found the power of the thank you very, very important, because as you do the thank yous for the small things that occur that you enjoy, it helps to create the vibrational rate so that what you put out is going to come back, maybe in a little different way, but it'll be there to support you. Being happy, being joyful makes it easier to say thank you. But life isn't always like that. Things happen. You get upset. You maybe catch a cold, or like me, and then all of a sudden you find you have a larger health issue. And I've had my fair share of things go on in my life. And it's still the point that it always brings a new awareness or a new aspect of looking and seeing and knowing. When I was diagnosed with this melanoma and declaring, there's a cancer in your body, I was like kind of upset that I had created this, and my mother died of cancer. So it was like, oh well, what's going on here? And I've had other people close to me that have passed on with cancer. But this is a melanoma, and it's and it's not like it's a vital organ within my body. And it is something which is proving that they have a new procedure that really works well with them. But what it did for me was sat me down in a sense to say, okay, how did I create this? Now, I knew there were a couple of ways I could have created it within myself, decisions I'd made and reactions that I'd had to circumstances. And so I had already gone through the process of analyzing that and looking at that, because sometimes we have situations happen out of nowhere, which we have no control over, but we have an adverse effect inside, an internal adverse effect, we'll say. And I knew I'd done that. So I thought, well, this could have happened. But me being me, and because I do a lot of transformation work, I got out my transformation sheet and said, okay, what's behind this? And to my surprise, what happened was there was one basic thing, just some old stuff that had been reconciled in my Akashic records. And that what I also noticed, it was in the subconscious. So what I began to look at was, at that moment, let me look at the subconscious, because I know the subconscious holds everything. It's like our big memory book in a way. They talk about the Akashic records out there, and I know in the library, I visited the library, and I've seen all the books and everything. And I've done a lot of work in the transformation of going into the Akashic records and clearing aspects that are there, which to me has a lot to do with self-forgiveness, to forgive yourself for what you've done, because it's like our memory banks, we harbor that. We don't let us think about what we've done or created or had happen. So it's stuck. And then if it's big enough, it gets put in the big book, so to speak. And when I looked at that, at that moment, I was shown how to go into the subconscious. And I've been privileged since then to work with several people clearing it's like unplugging this program in the subconscious. It's like pulling it out. And it's very interesting. I keep saying it in the same way, but it's like being able to have that. And so if I hadn't had this adverse effect and being curious enough to figure out, well, what really created this, I would never have found that. And I would not have been able to help my clients get to that place where they can really clear these basic programs that travel with us through lifetimes. And so it's like, good, that's gone. So let's think about that. We are a product of many lives. Ironic, in my work, I don't get many who just sort of new into Earth. They were being in Earth for some time. And that's understandable, because when you arrive, you've got to get used to this place. But when you're getting used to it, what happens, you make a lot of decisions based on previous lives, other planets, other spaces that you've lived in, and you bring that with you. You run into an emotion because most people are not used to living in an emotional planet. And that is what is most misunderstood here, I believe. This planet is an emotional planet. I've been privileged to follow people's souls back through time to where they first began. And it is a reading that I do to look. And when it first comes out of, you might say, the big mother collection of, and then this little soul comes out and goes on a journey and followed those journeys. And when people arrive here, I skipped. What happens, the majority of planets and or spaces are more mental than they are emotional. And then people come to Earth. This planet, I have come to believe, is totally alive. It is a love source. So again, emotion, because love is a feeling. And then what happens is that people come here and they're not used to dealing with all the feelings that they have inside the body. And sometimes it takes many lifetimes to even begin to realize that just by using a lot of mental element, you can suppress the emotion, which then creates all sorts of hassles for our life. It is like being aware. And many times over my many years of reading for people and transforming people has been just accept the feeling. The feeling is your body's way of talking to you. Your feelings are what comes up. If you can name the feeling, the body feels heard. And that's why a lot of body issues do come up, because we're not listening. And I'm just another person working through life and doesn't always listen, or you might say forget sometimes what I need to do. But it is similar to when you're being used to mental, and in our world, they often stress in development mental. Get your mind, think about what you want. And I'm not just decrying that at all. In fact, I teach that as well. But the important issue is to be able to acknowledge the feelings that come up. What is that feeling that is coming up? And if you can name it, and I remember when I was learning how to do this, I'm laughing now because I would say, I don't know what this feeling is. I don't know what it is. And it would subside because it was addressed. And then finally, you would get a name for it. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling lonely. All these names that would come at different times and different places. And what began to happen is that the whole, in a way, the body subsided a lot. Now, in comfort, because, and then the more delightful feelings could surface, because there wasn't so much of the body trying to say, hey, look, this is what I feel. This is what's going on. This is what's happening. Because our bodies have that connection to the earth, because they will go back to the earth one way or the other. So there is this continuation. Now, that is not to say you're going to have your mind straight. It's about a balance. Everything in this planet is about balance, which upsets me a little bit about what they're doing with the environment. They're not letting Mother Nature do her thing. They're interfering. And I know that's going to have consequences. But that's aside the point, because life is about balance, and the earth really works to create its balance. It understands and it knows. And at various times in history, and I was a bit of a history buff for many years, is that the earth has kicked back, literally kicked back, and said no more. And there have been many talks about how civilization has started. I had heard 5, I've heard recently 4 times. So why is that? Is because people think they're more than, and they don't honor the Earth Mother. They don't honor what that earth actually does. And we are living on that earth. We are a part of it. And it does really need some appreciation, which it doesn't get. But in my communications with the Earth Mother, as I call it, it just seems, okay, no, it's not the time yet. We're just going to hang on. And you hear things, oh, this is going to happen and that's going to happen. But it's like, it's not the earth. It's from people interfering. But that's a side topic, and we'll just let that go, because what we're talking today is about the power of the thank you. How many times a day do you say thank you? Do you say thank you to the person if you're out at a restaurant and they put the food down in front of you? Do you say thank you to your friend that you're with for spending time with you? Do you say thank you to yourself sometimes because you've done something, that you feel really good about? Thank you is a very, very positive vibration in the world, because it's an acknowledgement. And in the English language, I don't know that there's another word, or 2 words it is, to go. And you know what? I sit here and I suddenly realize I've never actually done the adding up of the numbers of it. But besides that, I do know that how powerful and how effective it can be when you begin to look at how thank you can work. How do you say thank you to yourself? Sometimes I just put my hands up, on my chest, my heart basically, and just say thank you. Thank you, body, because it's endured I was a sports person when I was young, and I had many falls. I broke my just above my wrist once. I broke just above my elbow once. I had hurt my foot. I was a tree climber. I could climb to the highest point of any tree, and there was a big woods, forest, whatever you want to call it, tall pine trees down just not far from us, until I broke my elbow. And then I got fearful, because that was something where it wasn't through me that it happened. Something was happened to me. And that puts a whole different light on things. When something happens to you from the outside, that's when fear comes up. And so once I wasn't the best tree climber on our street because we used to have competitions, and I always made it to the top. And then one day I couldn't, because I was fearful of falling. So it's surprising how one event will affect another one. And after that, I knew what fear was. I didn't know what fear was up until then, but that impacted breaking my elbow like that. They didn't think I'd really be able to have much dexterity at all, but I learned how to stretch it out. But I never have been able, you'll see here, never been able to come this way because the way it knitted. But that's okay. That's life. How do? You carry on. And because I exercised it like I was told, I was able to make it straight, because the doctors didn't think I would ever do it the way it was broken. I'm a bit determined, a bit stubborn, some people say. But anyway, I was going to say shit happens. I don't know if I can say that on air, but anyway, it does. And often things happen not because of you, not because of circumstances. It just is like there's a bigger, and you just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Now, some people say, well, how come you're in the wrong place at the wrong time? Because it happens. And whether it's there, but always I have found when I look back over the many things in my life, there's always been something I've come to understand. And one of the major things I came to understand was I don't listen to myself. My inner self tells me something and I override it. Now I've become better as the years have ticked by at listening to that voice, but I still I'm a stubborn person. And if I want to, or I'll rationalize in my mind. Yes, yeah, I know that, but I'll just do this. And that, but yes, I'll just do this to my own self often hasn't worked out well in the long run. But that's the experience of this life. And that's why we have many lives, because we get as much as we can within it. It's been so interesting. In this last week, I've had a couple of people I know phone up because of situations that's going on. So we've had a look. And how past lives affect us. Now, I wasn't intending to go to past lives because most of my talks I get a topic and then I run on it. But it's like we are working out the issues that we've had in other lifetimes. And there comes a point when we start recreating what we had maybe centuries ago. Now, sometimes in the future too, but we'll talk about that another time, about how there's past lives and future lives and how I discovered that. And we don't seem to come off our future lives as much as we do our past lives, because if we were looking at a scale, there's many more past lives than maybe future lives, but they're certainly there. And a number of people do have issues because of that. But it's also very, very important to be aware of where you are, where you want to go. And as we'll talk more about how our thinking does impact us. I'm not decrying thinking at all, but it's a balance between the mental and the emotional, which is your feelings. It actually becomes an emotion when you're acting out. Otherwise, it's just feelings that are inside. But it's the balance between that which is so important. They need to work together. And if you're anything like me throughout the years, they didn't always do that, because I had a lot of determination and was fairly stubborn. And so I didn't always, it took a lot for me personally to learn what my feelings were saying when they came up. And I didn't want to look at them, but I had to. If I wanted to grow, and it was like if I wanted to become the person that I believed I could be or do what I really wanted to do, I had to get those two in order. And in the last little while, I've had all this other physical stuff starting to happen. And I went, what is going on here? And I realized I'd gotten caught up in my own thinking, and I wasn't balancing myself as well, which then was having a consequence. See, I truly believe that we all deserve to be happy, however that looks. I've tried one time for many years to, red wine would be a good way of being happy and just suppressing all the strife I was going through at that time. That didn't work. And it has been, 17 years, I think, I haven't had a drink because I realized that was not the way to go if I wanted to really be where I wanted to be. There was lots of things. Thank goodness I never started really smoking. I tried it a little bit, didn't like it. That was good. So we all go in and take a look at our demons, I guess you could say. But it boils down to, are you giving thankfulness, thank yous for the things that happen in your life day by day? There's lots of little exercises that I have over the years, and I've written actually a lot of them in the Secrets for Living Happily, but I also just have learned as I've gone along working with many, 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 many people over the years. And life can be incredibly happy as we clear out these patterns that we have in our systems. And I've pretty well discovered most of the systems. So it really is important. If you are in stress and really in a stress place, there is ways in which you can get through that fairly fast and easily. So I want to say, before I address the people who have actually written on my comments, which I appreciate it. I just want to say how much I appreciate you listening, the comments that come in, your subscriptions. And remember, I do have a newsletter, and through my website, normacowie.com, you could sign up for the newsletter, and once a month I put that out and usually have a special or something I'm giving away, whatever. But anyway, I just want to let you know how much I appreciate you. So comes to the end, and now I'm going to look at my comments. So Ashia says, hey, and I say hey back. I probably pronounce her name wrong. I think I always did. And she says, I'm sorry about you having to go through that. Yes, I know. But, everything adds. And that's another one. I've been trying to keep track of all my comments that I use to support myself. Everything adds to you in some way, shape, or form. Even though it doesn't look good, feel good, or whatever, it's adding to who you are. It's how you handle it. It's like, how do you handle things? That's one of my statements, actually. So yeah, how do you handle? But thank you. I appreciate that. Jerry Jason. Hello, Norma. Yes, keep warm. It's 3 degrees here in Detroit. Wow. Yeah, at least that's above the 0 line. But anyway, I thank you. I have not been to Detroit, actually, but I have been to Chicago, but not Detroit. And Jerry says, thank you, Norma. And Yvonne Olson also says, thank you, Norma. Thank you for your appreciations. I appreciate it. I look forward to hearing from you on, let's see, we are at Wednesday. I'll be back on Sunday for Sunday Thought, and then I'll be back again Monday night for mental mind treatments. I give blessings to you all. You have a good week. I'll see you later. Bye now.